Plaintiff, Karima Betts, says when she was 13, she gave birth to a baby boy and was able to raise him for the first year of his life. Karima claims her son was eventually taken into foster care and ultimately adopted, and she never saw him again. However, Karima believes the defendant is her biological son, so she petitioned the court for a DNA test to find out the truth. Defendant Lamont Hicks says he didn't even know he was adopted until he was 13 years old, and once he found out, he tried to find his biological parents. Lamont claims social services told him his biological mother was deceased, so he was shocked when Karima reached out to him.
Why don't you give me some background on this?
All right, when I was 13, I got pregnant at a very young age, and I was able to keep him for about a year when I stayed in Philadelphia.
Whose household were you
My
in?
mother's. I lived in my mother's house,
Okay.
and she allowed me to take care of him. She helped me take care of him, and I ended up leaving my mother's house and moving in with my mother's first husband.
Why?
Because things in my mother's house wasn't going right for me. I guess I wanted to be grown, maybe. But I ended up moving in with my mother's first husband, and I stayed there for about 6 months, and then I moved to North Carolina with my sister. And I stayed there for a while, and I actually took care of this young man I believe is my son. And things was okay while I was going to school, and things with my sister started not to go right too. She ended up putting me out.
For what?
I guess I wasn't following her rules, so
Okay.
she ended up putting me out, me and my son out. And after she put me out, I had nowhere to go, so I went to the social service there, and they ended up taking my son from me, but they gave me the option, because I was 15, to be in foster care with him. So I allowed them to do that. And I was there for about 6 months before I realized I was pregnant again with my daughter. And they didn't put me with him. They put me in a girl's home. They put him in a children's home. So I ended up running away from there. And I roamed the streets for about 5-6 years. And then a family member actually helped me get myself together. And I say about 2005, I decided to look for my son to see if I can find him.
Okay, let me understand. Everywhere you stayed, as a young teenager, you either left or there was trouble. It was problematic.
Right, I was actually a very troubled young lady.
Okay.
You know, my brother killed himself when I was 13, right before I had my son. And
13.
right,
Yeah.
I never knew who my father was, so I was really a troubled young lady.
Yeah.
You know, and I began to drink a lot when after, I got out of foster care, and began to drink a lot.
No one suggested or tried to get you to go to counseling?
Not when I was a young lady. When I got older and a family member actually did help me and help me get myself together, that's when I began to, seek therapy, and I began to, actually get my life back together.
And how long do you think it took?
About 3 years.
3 years?
Right, I went to
All right.
school and everything, so
Good. And then what'd you do? What type of school and how far did you go?
I actually went and got my high school diploma, and I went and got a cosmetology degree.
All right, congratulations. And the reason I'm focusing on that, you're like millions of other young people who are traumatized at an early age and don't have a family structure or community structure that is there to save them. And so they kind of internalize their pain and don't know how to handle that pain and act out and reject and stay angry at everybody. So that makes sense now. But as I always advise folks, you got to get in counseling and therapy.
It works.
And it worked. It took 3 years, but it transformed your entire life. So that's why I was looking into that. You give me some background, young man.
Honestly, I didn't even know I was adopted to the age of 13, Your Honor. When I was in middle school, my name changed from Lamont West to Lamont Hicks. And I heard some of my classmates speaking, saying that, oh, he's adopted, stuff like that. So I asked my adopted parents, and they said, yeah, they said my mama was young, and it kind of made me a little bit mad because they hid the truth from me, but I guess they was looking out for me, and they said they was gonna wait till I got a little bit older, but people around school was just saying it, so I really wanted to know. I was very eager. After that, I pursued to go find my mother, and I went to social service like around the age of 16, and they told me that she's dead. They told me she was dead, and they had no record of my father whatsoever. So I was like, I mean, I'm going to college next year, so it is what it is. Until about this last birthday, April 28th.
So what does that make you, a Taurus?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's see what Taurus, look up Taurus. I don't know if he's telling the truth or not. So I think Taurus tell the truth all the time. There's some Scorpios that'll lie in a minute. What sign are you? Scorpio. So, what occurred?
Miss Karima, she messaged me and she said happy birthday. She wished me happy birthday, and I said thank you. And she asked me, was I adopted? And I said yes. And she said, I think I might be your mother. And I was like out of curiosity, I was like, oh, okay. So I called my adopted dad, and he was like, well, just calm down. Let me talk to her, and then, get some information. And he told me about probably a week after, he was like, everything that she told me and we talked about is true. Honestly, I didn't even know I was adopted to the age of 13, Your Honor. After that, I pursued to go find my mother, and I went to social service like around the age of 16, and they told me that she's dead.
Defendant Lamont Hicks found out he was adopted when he was 13 years old, and the plaintiff believes she may be his biological mother. So she petitioned the court for a DNA test.
Let me hear from you about your outreach to him.
What I would do is, I got on Facebook, and anybody that had the name Lamont, that's what I named him. I named him Lamont West, which was my brother who passed away. That was his name. So anybody that had the name Lamont that lived in my area, I would send them a friend's request.
Were you all still in the same town together?
30 minutes away the whole time.
30 minutes.
30 minutes away the whole time.
Okay.
So anyway, I sent the friend's request out, and on his birthday, it showed up on my Facebook page. Lamont Hicks' birthday is today. He turned 22. And I knew that's how old my son would be that day. So I said to myself, now, should you send him a message or should you not? But I ended up sending him the message, asking him, could I ask him a couple of questions? I don't want to sound weird or anything, but I'm looking for my son. And then I started asking him questions, about himself and telling him things about myself. And once I talked to his adoptive parents, they knew that I was who I was, and I knew that he was my son.
Because of your knowledge and your history of...
Right, and he was actually in the same county where he was taken from me. He was still in the same county, but when I went looking for him in 2005, they told me he was adopted out, and they couldn't give me any information about it.
And what's been your interaction since then?
I have the messages. We text. We message every day.
You
and
do
I
what?
actually showed. The only thing I was actually able to keep from him was his baby picture.
Okay.
And I sent it to him, and he keeps saying it doesn't look like him, but
He said it doesn't look like him?
To me, it looks.
Let's see.
To me, it looks just.
I'll be the judge of that. And thank goodness you all were able to come here. We invite fathers and mothers who want to know whether the child is theirs, because we want to make sure that folks pay their child support if that's the case. Or they want to get child support off their behind. So they come. So, wow, looks just like you. Who you kidding? You still look like that. You still look like that. Let me see some of these messages. Doyle, gonna get the results for us, please. Hi, my name is Karima Becks. I'm inboxing you to ask you a few questions. Are you adopted? I know this may seem crazy, but I've been looking for my son for almost 20 years. And if you're not adopted, please forgive me for bothering you. His response, yes, I am. And you say, do you know your real mother or father's name? He says, no. And you say, I think I could be. He said, wow, explain how, because I'm confused. And social services said they couldn't find you when I was little. What's your full name? You're asking him. Lamont West Hicks. You say, I want to wish you a happy belated birthday, son. He says, thanks. I'm so happy. I want to meet soon. You say, I'm open to that. he says, okay, I want to meet the rest of my family. And hats off to you. A lot of young people are angry and don't want to meet the other siblings. I was angry with my dad, who I never spent any more than 30 days with. And I didn't want to meet his other kids. And didn't meet him until I was on television. And they came to meet me. I mean, it was fine. I embraced them and had them begin coming over to my home. But yeah, for many years, I knew they existed and didn't want to meet them. But so you were a bigger man than me. So you are a bigger man than I was. And we're going to see how much time have you all spent together since then.
He actually lives in a different part of North Carolina than I do now. So this is the first time I've seen him.
How far away?
About 4 hours.
4 hours? Trying to see how much I can afford. I want to help you all spend some time together. That's what I was calculating. I can't get you a car. I don't know, you might be too much of a hot shot to ride the bus back and forth. I'll tell you what I'll do. If it is the case, I'll at least let you all spend 3 days together here. I'll pay for that since you're always in Chicago. I'll pay for that. All right, so you all get 3 additional days in Chicago to bond. All right, now I can't afford another hotel room, so you all got to stay together. I'm just kidding. I'll just make sure you're on the same floor. How's that?
This last birthday, April 28th, Miss Karima, she messaged me and she said happy birthday. She wished me happy birthday, and I said thank you. And she asked me, was I adopted? And I said yes. And she said, I think I might be your mother.
Defendant Lamont Hicks found out he was adopted when he was 13 years old, and the plaintiff believes she may be his biological mother. So she petitioned the court for a DNA test.
All right, well, Karima is your mom.
I knew it. Can I hug him?
Y'all go on and hug.
I'm gonna try to spend more time with my son. I owe him 20 years.
Same. I'm about to cry. Hold on. The same.
Okay.
It's I just been waiting like a long time.
We're gonna build our relationship.
And meet the rest of my family.